Somewhere beyond the veil of the ordinary, beyond our waking world of roads and rain and steel, there lies a land of forgotten gods, ancient ruins and boundless magic. A place where the stars remember, where dragons dream, and where stories do not end, they evolve. This is a world called Toril, but you may know it by the name whispered across countless campfires, game tables, and pages of dusty tomes. This is the Forgotten Realms. The Forgotten Realms is one of the most enduring, iconic, and richly detailed settings in all of Dungeons & Dragons. It is the world in which Baldur's Gate 3 takes place, but it is much more than just a backdrop. The Realms is a living world, where gods walk among mortals, where kingdoms rise and fall by sword and spell, and where history stretches back thousands upon thousands of years. It is a land of beauty and bloodshed, of divine purpose and mortal ambition, a canvas for legends, both written and yet to be written. To understand the Forgotten Realms, we must begin before time, before kingdoms, even before gods ruled the skies. In the beginning, there was only Toril, a single, unformed world created by the primordials, ancient beings of elemental chaos. They shaped mountains, seas, and skies with no care for the creatures who might come to live among them. Then came the gods. The gods, also called deities or powers, descended upon Toril, each seeking to shape it according to their divine ideals. But the primordials refused to yield. What followed was a war of unimaginable scale, a cosmic conflict between creation and control, law and chaos, mortality and elemental might. This war, known only in fragments by scholars and seers, would end with Ao, the overgod, splitting the world in two. Abir, the world of elemental dominion, hidden from the eyes of most mortals, and Toril, the world of magic, gods, and mortal destiny. This is the Toril we speak of now, the cradle of the Forgotten Realms. The echoes of Abir still remain, in the blood of the Genasi, in the rise of certain dragons, and in the strange lands that merged with Toril during later cataclysms. We now move on to the flow of magic in this world. Magic is not simply power in the Forgotten Realms, it is the very lifeblood of existence. It flows through the world like a river through time, invisible yet ever present. This current is called the Weave. The Weave is the source of all spells, enchantments, and magical effects. It is not magic itself, but the conduit through which magic is shaped and accessed. And the Weave has a guardian, the goddess Mystra. Mystra is the Lady of Mysteries, the embodiment of arcane magic. But hers is not a singular legacy. The mantle of Mystra has passed through several incarnations. First was Mistral, the original goddess of magic, who sacrificed herself to save the world during the fall of Netheril. Then came Mystra, her reborn self, who imposed rules upon magic, giving rise to the structured spellcasting we know today. After her death, in the Time of Troubles, a mortal named Midnight ascended to become the new Mystra. But in time, Mystra returned, reborn once more to stabilize the shattered Weave. Magic in the realms is not a singular art. It takes many forms, each drawing from a different source of power. We have arcane magic, studied by wizards, wielded innately by sorcerers, or bargained for by warlocks. We also have divine magic, granted by deities to their faithful clerics, paladins, and druids. And even stranger sources happen. like the pact-bound magic of the Feywild, or the psionic talents awakened by far realms beyond mortal comprehension. Each taps into the weave in its own way, but all owe their existence to the structure Mystra maintains. When she is strong, magic is stable. When she is weakened or slain, the entire world suffers. In 1385 DR, also known as Dale Reckoning, disaster struck. The goddess Mystra was murdered by Cyric and Shar. With her death, the weave collapsed and magic shattered. This cataclysm became known as the Spell Plague. Blue fire swept across the world, warping magic, melting landscapes, and twisting life itself. Spellcasters lost control of their power. Entire cities vanished. Some regions became plague lands, zones of wild, unstable, arcane energy. Worse still, during the chaos, Abir and Toril briefly overlapped, merging fragments of both worlds together. New lands emerged, strange creatures appeared, even the gods trembled. For over a century, magic remained broken. But the world began to heal when Ao, the Overgod, took action once more. He restored balance through a new divine reckoning, known as the Second Sundering. By its end, the weave was restored, Mystra returned. Abir and Toril were once again separated, and the world moved into a new era. This is the realms we see in Baldur's Gate 3, a land still bearing the scars of chaos, but alive once more with story. In the realms, the gods are not myths or metaphors. They are real, they are active, and they are often flawed. Worship shapes their power, faith fuels their presence, and mortals, whether they wish to or not, are entangled in their schemes. Some of these major deities include Mystra, as we have said before, who governs all magic. We have Selûne, goddess of the moon, the light and guidance. We have Shar, her sister and opposite, goddess of darkness, loss and secrets. We have Tyr, the god of justice. The Thunder, the morning lord, deity of rebirth and the dawn. We have Lolth, the spider queen, revered and feared by the drow. And we have Corellon, Moradin and Yondala, racial deities of elves, dwarfs and halflings respectively. However, we also have something known as the Dead Three. Few gods are as ominously tied to Baldur's Gate as the Dead Three. They include Bane, the god of tyranny and war, Baal, the god of murder, and Merkel, god of death and decay. Though once dead, all three have returned in various forms, whispering through cults and cursed bloodlines. Their presence is not just history, it is current and always corrupting. In terms of worship and power, a god's power waxes and wanes with the strength of their following. Some gods have faded into near nothingness as mortals have turned away. Others have risen from obscurity as belief returned. Faith is not benign in the realms. It is power. It is dangerous, divine, and all-consuming. In the Forgotten Realms, we have a timeline etched in magic and war. The realms are ancient, and their history is not just limited to one age, but many. Let us walk briefly through the great ages of Toril's past, starting with the days of Thunder, an age of creator races, the Suruk, the Batrachi, the Eerie, who ruled before elves and dwarfs walked the land. Next, we have the Crown Wars, a brutal civil war between the elven kingdoms. The fall of the Dark Elves and the rise of the Drow begin here. We have the rise of Netheril next, a human empire ruled by powerful archwizards known for floating cities and reckless magical experimentation. Their fall created the desert of Anauroch and nearly doomed the Weave itself. Following this, we have the fall of the myth of Draenor, a shining elven city of unity, art and magic, destroyed by betrayal and demonic invasion. After this, we have the Time of Troubles, when Ao casted the gods down into mortal form. Temples fell and magic failed. Gods died and sun mortals ascended in their place. Next, we have the Spell Plague and the Second Sundering. As we've already mentioned, this is the most recent of upheavals in the realm's history, reshaping both magic and divine order. We move on to now the peoples of the realms. But in the Forgotten Realms, the term people encompasses far more than mere humanity. The realms teem with a bewildering variety of sentient beings, some native to Toril, others born of gods or magic, or even far-off stars. Each race carries with it a rich cultural identity, spiritual tradition, and deep historical roots that has helped shape the lands they inhabit. We begin naturally with the most familiar, the humans. Humans are the most widespread and adaptable race in Faerun. Unlike many others, they are not bound by ancient gods or elemental bloodlines. Instead, their strength lies in ambition, in their versatility and cultural diversity. From the gleaming cities of Waterdeep and Baldur's Gate to the nomadic tribes of the Shah, humans thrive in every environment and society. They live short lives by elven or dwarven standards, and perhaps because of this, they strive harder, they reach farther, and build faster. They dominate kingdoms, they chart unknown seas, and dabble in arcane powers with reckless curiosity. Their faiths are many, from the gods of knowledge, Ogma, to the scheming lady of loss, Shah. Their kingdoms rise and fall with the turning of ages, yet their presence never truly wanes. Next, we have the elves. They are graceful, long-lived, and suffused with ancient magic. Elves are believed to have originated in the Feywild, brought into Toril by the god Corellon. Their empires once ruled vast stretches of Faerun. High elves, also known as sun elves, are noble and scholar-like, often isolationist. Wood elves prefer the embrace of wild places, while the drow, also known as dark elves, were exiled into the Underdark after the betrayal of Lolth, the Spider Queen. Each elven subrace carries with it distinct languages, customs and aesthetics, yet all are tied by a sense of loss for their dwindling dominion over the world. Next, we have the dwarves, forged by the Allfather Moradin from earth and stone. Dwarves are hearty, stalwart folk. They dwell in the great subterranean halls carved into the spines of mountain ranges, like the spine of the world in the Earth-vast mountains. They are famed for their craftsmanship and their love of gold, gems, and their unbreakable oaths. The shield dwarves are bold warriors and builders of kingdoms. The gold dwarves are more reserved and traditional, often dwelling in deep ancestral homes. There are also the Duergar, grey dwarfs twisted by mind flayer magic, who now dwell bitterly in the Underdark. Next, we have gnomes. They are small, clever, and full of mischief. Gnomes are often overlooked, a mistake few make twice. Rock gnomes invent contraptions that seem to defy logic. Forest gnomes whisper to beasts and vanish like smoke among trees. The deep gnomes dwell deep beneath the surface, cautiously mining rare gems and minerals in the perilous Underdark. Though rarely involved in politics or empire, gnomes are known for their boundless curiosity, their cheerful demeanour, and uncanny knack for magic and machinery alike. Another race is half-orcs. Born of both human and orcish heritage, half-orcs often walk between the two worlds. In orc society, they may be viewed as weak, in human society as brutish, but half-orcs are more than either parentage alone. They embody strength, resilience, and raw emotional depth. In cities, they may serve as mercenaries, blacksmiths, or enforcers. In wilder places, some lead orcish warbands or serve as tribal shamans. The influence of the orc god, Grumash, lingers in their veins, but many half-orcs find their own paths, shaped not by violence, but by survival and spirit. We also have halflings. Small in stature, but large in heart. Halflings live simple lives in rural communities scattered throughout the realms. They value comfort, friendship, and peace. Yet when roused, they exhibit surprising bravery. The Lightfoot halflings are nomadic and curious, often found in human cities. Stout halflings are hardier, with a deep resistance to hardship and poison alike. Despite their size, halflings are not to be underestimated. Many an adventurer has underestimated a halfling, only to find themselves outwitted, outmaneuvered, and outlasted. The next race are Dragonborn. Towering, proud, and draconic in form, they are born of ancient dragon bloodlines. Their origins vary. Some tales say they descend from dragons who took humanoid shape and bred with mortals. Others speak of a lost empire such as Arcosia, where Dragonborn once ruled. They are honour-bound warriors and artisans, guided by clan loyalty and personal strength. Depending on their draconic ancestry, they can breathe fire, lightning, cold or acid, an echo of their scaled forebears. One of the last of the common races are known as tieflings. Marked by infernal heritage, tieflings are descended from those who struck bargains with devils or who bear the blood of the nine hells. Horned, tailed, and often mistrusted, they are survivors of prejudice and fear. Yet their appearance belies their nature. Tieflings are philosophers, rogues, and warlocks. Individuals shaped by adversity into uniquely resilient people. Many seek to escape their legacy, while others embrace the power it brings. The diversity of peoples across the realms and beyond speaks to the boundless creativity of the world itself. In taverns, temples, or the battle-scarred wilds, one may find a goblin priestess serving limiter, a Kenku bard who speaks only in echoes, or a warforged druid growing moss on their metal chest. In Faerun, it is not the blood in your veins that defines you, but the choices you make, the paths you walk, and the legends you leave behind. We've spoken about the many races in the world of Faerun, but let us now talk about the magic. Magic is not just a force in the Forgotten Realms, it is the world's breath, the song of existence, and the undercurrent upon which reality itself is strung. Everything, from the smallest cantrip to the rise and fall of gods, flows from a mysterious lattice that permeates all things, the weave. At the heart of Faerun's mystical foundation is the weave. It's a vast, invisible web of raw, arcane potential that binds together every plane of existence. Created and maintained by the goddess Mystra, the weave is not a substance, but a metaphysical layer overlaying the world. It is the interface through which all magic flows, divine or arcane. Without the weave, spellcasting would be impossible. Magical effects that alter time, summon fire from the air, or heal grievous wounds all work by tapping into this matrix. Even magic items, scrolls, and artifacts function through its interwoven structure. Scholars across Toril debate whether the weave is Mystra herself, or merely her chosen vessel. The truth is both. When Mystra dies or is weakened, the weave shatters, magic collapses, wild surges erupt, and reality unravels. This occurred during events like the Time of the Troubles and the Spell Plague, which brought ages of chaos. Who is this Mystra I speak of? Well, Mystra, also known as the Lady of Mysteries, is the current and most widely worshipped goddess of magic. She governs the orderly use of arcane energy and ensures that mortals can access spellcasting safely, so long as they respect her weave. But Mistra has not always held this mantle alone. The original Mistra, known as Mistral, was the first goddess of magic, born alongside the cosmos. Mistral was destroyed in the ancient past due to the reckless actions of the Netherese, especially an archmage Karsus, who attempted to steal her divinity and control magic himself. Her essence was later reborn as Mistra, first as a deity of balance, and then again, centuries later, after being slain and resurrected in different forms. The current incarnation of Mistra rose after the spell plague, restoring the weave to stability. Mistra governs not only arcane spellcasting, but also magical lore. She has chosen mortals, imbued with fragments of her divine power, such as Elminster Armor, Lorrael Silverhand, and Storm Silverhand, who protect magic from misuse. Arcane magic is the manipulation of the weave through learned skill or innate talent. Its practitioners fall into diverse paths. We have wizards who study grimoires, runes, and formula. They are scholars of the arcane, crafting spells through meticulous theory. We have sorcerers who are born with magic, their bloodlines touched by dragons, fae, or chaotic energies. Their power is instinctual and wild. We also have warlocks, who have gained magic from pacts with patrons, fiends, fae, great old ones, or beings beyond comprehension. Their magic is a gift, or a curse, traded for servitude. Lastly, we have bards, who weave the weave into song and story, drawing upon its power through artistry, lore, and inspiration. Arcane spells can achieve almost anything, from illusions and transmutations to time warping, teleportation, or planar travel. But this power comes with risk. Arcane magic can backfire catastrophically when mishandled, especially in areas where the weave is damaged or tainted. Divine magic flows from faith, not study. It comes from the gods, their celestial servants, and cosmic principles that guide existence. Clerics and paladins receive divine spells through devotion to a specific deity or ideal. Druids and rangers draw upon the raw spirituality of nature itself. Divine spellcasters cannot cast without connection. A cleric who loses their god becomes powerless. Their magic is granted, not earned. But divine magic is no less potent. It can resurrect the dead, summon radiant energy, or banish demons back to their hellish homes. Divine casters often wield unique spells tied to their faith. For example, a cleric of Lathander may channel healing and light. The priest of Shar, goddess of darkness, may wield necrotic shadow magic. A war priest of Tempest, the god of war, might smite foes with righteous fury. Magic in the Forgotten Realms is academically categorized into 8 schools. We have Abjuration, which provides protective spells, shields, wards, banishments. We have Conjuration, summoning of creatures or objects from elsewhere. Next we have Divination. This is scrying, detecting hidden truths or prophecy. The fourth is Enchantment, influencing minds, emotions and behaviour. Next we have Evocation, pure elemental force, including fireballs and lightning bolts. Next we have Illusion. These are tricks of the senses, like invisibility or phantasms. Next we have Necromancy, which is life, death, and the undeath, draining vitality or raising the dead itself. And lastly, we have Transmutation, altering matter, polymorphing, flight, and alchemy. Wizards typically specialize in a school, gaining expertise and efficiency in their chosen field. These divisions are studied in mage academies such as the Host Tower of the Arcane in Luskan, or the ancient ruins of Myth Dranor, once a pinnacle of elven magical learning. However, in Faerun, magic is not always stable. Wild magic zones exist where the weave has been damaged, remnants of the spell plague, ancient battles, or magical catastrophes. In these regions, spells can unravel, mutate, or explode with chaotic effects. Sorcerers with wild magic origins embody this unpredictability. Their spells may surge into random phenomena, from turning the caster blue to creating fireballs unintentionally. In Baldur's Gate 3, wild magic sorcerers bring chaos into every cast, offering both danger and dramatic power. But spellcasting is just more than incantations. Wizards must inscribe their spells into spellbooks, carefully transcribing formulae and runes. Scrolls allow single-use spells, while magic items can store the spell effects, or enchant weapons, or even hold the essence of a soul. These items are rare, expensive, and sometimes cursed. Some examples from Baldur's Gate 3 and the classic Forgotten Realms lore include the Staff of Arcane Blessing, empowering cantrips and spells, the Necromancy of Thay, a powerful forbidden tome, and the Wand of Fireballs, delivering devastation with a flick of the wrist. Crafting such items often requires rare materials, rituals, and components harvested from monsters or planar realms. Magic in the realms often connects with the cosmology of the multiverse. Spellcasters may tap into other planes, the Feywild, Shadowfell, the Nine Hells, or the elemental planes for power, knowledge, or allies. The plane-shift spells allow travel to these realms. Conjuration magic summons creatures from other dimensions, and divine spells may invoke the celestial plane of gods. Some wizards, or planar scholars, specialize in understanding the cosmology of the realms, but many go mad. I've mentioned the spell plague a couple of times now, but what is it? It's the most cataclysmic magical event in recent history. When Mystra was slain by Sirikan Shah in 1385 DR, the weave collapsed. Magic became untethered, causing surges, mutations, planar ruptures, and a complete breakdown of the magical structure. Blue firestorms consumed entire cities. Spellcasters were driven mad or killed outright. Entire continents, like Maztica, vanished into other planes. The chaos lasted for a century, known as the Era of Upheaval, until Mystra was reborn and stabilized the weave. But scars of the spell plague remain. Even in Baldur's Gate 3, one can encounter wild zones, remnants of the magical collapse. In the Forgotten Realms, magic is neither evil nor good. It is a tool, a gift, and a danger. Its power draws ambition, its mystery draws seekers, and its misuse invites catastrophe. Some wish to master it, others seek to destroy it, but none can deny that magic defines the world. In every city, dungeon, ruin and plain, magic is the thread that binds history, heroes, and horrors together. We now move on to the monsters and the beasts of the Forgotten Realms. The world is teeming with creatures, both awe-inspiring and terrifying, born of magic, nature, the divine, and the infernal, from ancient dragons slumbering beneath mountains, to mind-bending abominations from other planes. Monsters are not mere obstacles in Faerun, but they are legends unto themselves. Their presence shapes kingdoms, warps the wilderness, and haunts the pages of history. Let's now delve into this monstrous tapestry that colours this world. We could start with the beasts of the natural world. The wilds of Faerun are home to an array of natural creatures, some familiar, others fantastical. In the plains and the forests roam herds of giant elk, direwolves and owlbears, hybrid predators, the body of a bear and the keen, swivelling head of an owl. In the frigid north, white-furred yeti and remoras prowl the tundra, while beneath the waves, sea lions, kraken spawn, and razor-toothed creatures make travel treacherous. Beasts in the Forgotten Realms often reflect their environment's unique magical influence. The Chaldean rainforests teem with dinosaurs and jungle predators long thought extinct. The high forest conceals enormous treants and celestial stags, while the Honoric desert harbours giant scorpions and purple worms, gargantuan, burrowing creatures capable of swallowing travellers whole. Some beasts, like the displacer beast or the phase spider, defy conventional biology. Displacer beasts resemble six-legged panthers, with barbed tentacles and a magical displacement effect that causes them to shimmer and blur in combat, making them notoriously hard to strike. Phase spiders can blink between dimensions, striking from the ethereal plane before vanishing again. However, few beings rival the majesty and terror of dragons. These ancient, intelligent creatures are the namesake of the game and central to the realm's mythology. Dragons are divided into two broad categories, chromatic and metallic. Chromatic dragons, black, blue, green, red and white, are almost universally evil. They serve the goddess Tiamat, the five-headed queen of evil dragons. Red dragons, the most arrogant and powerful, hoard treasure and burn cities. Green dragons are cunning manipulators who dwell in forests and delight in psychological torment. White dragons are savage, primal, and dominate icy wastes. The metallic dragons, often seen as brass, bronze, copper, gold and silver, tend toward nobility and altruism. They revere Bahamut, the platinum dragon, god of justice, wisdom and protection. Gold dragons, who breathe fire and holy energy, often take human forms to walk among mortals. Silver dragons delight in the arts and spend lifetimes defending innocent civilizations in secret. Dragons are not merely powerful, they are repositories of ancient magic and memory. Each dragon has a hoard of treasure imbued with emotional resonance, items stolen, gifted, or hard-earned. As dragons grow older, they may become great worms, whose power rivals that of gods. Next, we have aberrations. Aberrations are creatures that do not belong. They hail from the far realm, a place outside the ordered planes of existence, a realm of madness, shifting geometry, and incomprehensible logic. Among the most iconic are the mind flayers or illithids. These humanoid abominations have octopus-like heads and consume the brains of sentient beings to sustain themselves. Their elder brain control colonies through hive mind telepathy, and they often seek to enslave other species, particularly through their creation of intellect devourers, which can crawl inside a host's skull and take over the body. Beholders are equally feared, floating spherical tyrants with a massive central eye and a crown of smaller eye stalks, each capable of casting a different magical ray, such as disintegration, petrification, sleep, and others. Beholders are driven by intense paranoia and megalomania. Each believes itself to be the ultimate form of life and will destroy any rival, even if it means other beholders. The aboleths predate the gods themselves. These aquatic, psionic horrors enslave minds and dwell in the darkest of oceans. They believe they were once the rulers of the multiverse and seek to reclaim their place, spreading domination and madness from the deep. We also have fiends and devils. From the 9 hells of Baldur come devils, lawful evil creatures who twist contracts and tempt mortals with power. Devils form rigid hierarchies, ruled by an archdevil, Asmodeus, who commands the infernal bureaucracy of from Nessus, the lowest hell. Among their ranks are imps, who serve as messengers and spies, barbed devils, enforcers, covered in razors, and pit fiends, towering generals with fire and poison in their fanes. Meanwhile, from the abyss, a place of chaos and unfiltered evil, come the demons. Where devils are cunning, demons are raw destruction. The Baldur, wreathed in flame and armed with lightning whips, is among the most feared. Others include Vrox, Mariliths, and Wretches. The Blood War, an internal conflict between demons and devils, plays out in the lower planes and sometimes spills into Faerun. Mortals are often pawns in this cosmic battle. Next, we have the Undead. The Undead are animated by necromantic forces or cursed by gods. Some retain sentience, but others become mindless husks. Skeletons and zombies are the most common, raised by necromancers as disposable troops. Wights, ghouls and ghasts hunger for the living and spread their condition like a disease. Vampires, elegant and deadly, rule from the shadows. In Faerun, the vampire lord, Zaz-Tam of Thay, is among the most powerful necromancers alive, or unalive. Liches are former spellcasters who achieved immortality by binding their souls to phylacteries. The Archlich Vecna, though not native to the realms, is known to be a whisper in its darkest corners. Ghosts, banshees, and wraiths are spirits torn from peace, often seeking vengeance. The undead threaten the natural cycle of life and death, and they are especially loathed by clerics and druids. The next type are giants and titans. The Ordning is an ancient social hierarchy of giants established by the god of Anum Allfather. At the top are the storm giants, seers and kings who dwell in cloud castles. Below them come the cloud giants, known for hoarding art and treasure. Fire giants, militant smiths who craft weapons of war. Then we have frost giants, brutal warriors of the icy north. Stone giants, who are reclusive and philosophical. And finally, hill giants, who are gluttonous brutes. Giants see themselves as the rightful rulers of the world. Many still resent the rise of smaller folk, particularly dragons, whom they once warred against in the ancient dragon-giant wars. Moving on to other creatures, some are artificial or born of pure magic. Golems are constructs of clay, stone, or metal, brought to life through rituals and bound to obey. Elementals hail from the elemental planes, living embodiments of fire, water, earth, and air. In certain places like Zakhara or Kalimshan, elemental beings are worshipped as gods or bound into service. For others, we have things like chimeras, manticores, hydras, and basilisks. They are strange hybrids spawned by arcane tampering or cursed evolution. The Tarask, a gargantuan, nigh unstoppable engine of destruction, slumbers beneath the earth. It is said that if it awakens, not even the gods can fully contain its wrath. Some monsters are singular entities, woven into the fate of the world itself. We have an Asurak, the Demilich, a master of death and creator of tombs that defy mortality. We have a Kraken of the trackless sea, whose appearance reshapes oceanic travel and inspires fear in entire navies. And then we have the Draco Liches, undead dragons whose souls are trapped between worlds, merge in draconic rage with undeath. Even Baldur's Gate itself has its legends, rumours of shapeshifters in the upper city or monstrous things lurking in the undercellar beneath taverns. To walk the Forgotten Realms is to risk meeting monsters that defy imagination. Some are remnants of ancient ages, others are born of ambition or madness, yet all play a role in shaping the world's stories, whether as your nemesis, or a symbol, or forces that test the limits of courage. In the realms, monsters are not merely foes, they are chapters in an epic that never ends. Let us move on to gods and the divine powers of the Forgotten Realms, starting with the cosmic order and the Overgod. In the vast cosmology of the Forgotten Realms, all divine activity is governed by Ao, the Overgod. Ao does not answer prayers. He does not appear to mortals or accept their worship. His role is not to lead the pantheon, but to ensure the balance, the cosmic law that no god may violate without consequence. Ao has intervened only a handful of times in history, the most famous being the Time of Troubles in 1358, when he cast the gods into mortal forms after they allowed the tablets of fate, which maintained cosmic order, to be stolen. His will is absolute, and even the mightiest of gods kneel before it. Next we have the first divine drama of Toril, which was not a war between mortals, but between sisters, Selûne, goddess of the moon and light, and Shar, goddess of darkness and loss. When Ao created the crystal sphere that would house realm space, Selûne lit the new world with fire to warm it, while Shar sought to cloak it in eternal night. Their struggle birthed Chauntea, goddess of agriculture, as the planet's spirit. Selûne gifted Chauntea warmth and light, but Shar tried to smother her with cold and darkness. The war raged across the heavens, shattering parts of Selûne's body into the Tears of Selûne, a cluster of celestial bodies, and giving birth to the Shadow Weave, Shar's dark reflection of magic. We have Mystra, which we have touched upon before, who is the goddess of magic, who governs the weave, the invisible structure through which all magic flows. Without the weave, spellcasting would be chaotic and destructive. Mystra has been destroyed and reborn several times, most famously during the Time of Troubles, when the mortal mage, Midnight, ascended to replace the slain Mystra. Mystra's followers are often wizards, sorcerers, and magical scholars. Her holy days include Midsummer and Shield Meet, occasions of magic fairs and spell duels. Her realm, Dwemerheart, exists in the plane of Arcadia, a place of pure, untainted magic. Let's discuss the major Faerunian pantheon. The pantheon of Faerun is not a unified council. It is a web of rivalries, alliances, and grudges spanning millennia. Mortals often worship more than one god depending on the need, but priests remain loyal to their patron. Firstly, we have Tyr, the even-handed, god of justice, law, and honour. Its symbol are balanced scales resting on a warhammer. Its holy day, Midsummer. Its realm, House of the Triad. Tyr lost his hand battling Kezef, the Chaos Hound. Next we have Torm, the true, god of duty and loyalty, often depicted in gleaming armour with a gauntlet raised, ally of Tyr and Ilmater in the Triad. Ilmater, the crying god of endurance, of martyrdom and compassion. Its symbol are two hands bound at the wrist. His priests serve in hospitals and on battlefields, offering solace to the suffering. Next we have Lathander, the Morning Lord, god of dawn, renewal and creativity. His symbol is sunrise over a road. Its worshippers celebrate dawnflow, greeting the sun with song, and is associated with new beginnings and rebirth. Next we have Tempus, the Lord of Battles, god of war and honourable combat. His clergy bless armies before campaigns and frown upon cowardice. His symbol is a blazing sword on a shield. Next we have Chauntea, the Earth Mother, the goddess of agriculture, nature's bounty and fertility. Her symbol is a sheaf of wheat. Farmers across Faerun make offerings at planting and harvesting. Next we have Shar, mistress of the night, goddess of darkness, secrets and loss. Her temples are hidden and her followers guard the Shadow Weave. Her holy symbol is a black disc rimmed in purple, and her holy day is Lossfest. Next we have her sister, Selûne, the Lady of Silver, goddess of the moon, navigation and travellers. Her symbol, a pair of eyes surrounded by 7 stars. Her worshippers include sailors, navigators, and those who wander under moonlight. You may have also heard of the Dead Three. They were once mortal men known as Bane, Baal and Merkel, who ascended to godhood through ambition and treachery. Starting with Bane, also known as the Black Lord, god of tyranny and fear. His iron gauntlet symbol is feared across Faerûn. Next we have Baal, the lord of murder and patron of assassins. His unholy days often mark bloody rituals. And lastly, Merkel, lord of bones, god of death and decay, feared even by other deities for his control over souls. We also have the racial pantheons. Different peoples have their own gods, who sometimes overlap with or oppose the Faerûnian powers. Firstly, we have Corellon Larethian, creator god of the elves, patron of art, magic and beauty. Then we have Lolth, the Spider Queen, chaotic evil, goddess of the Drow, ruling from the demon web pits. Next we have Moradin, dwarf father, god of creation and smithing. Then we have Garl Glittergold, trickster god of gnomes. Next we have Grumsh, one-eyed god of orcs, sworn enemy of Corellon. Next we have Maglubiet, hobgoblin, god of war and conquest. I've mentioned the Time of Troubles once or twice. In 1358, Ao punished the gods by casting them into mortal avatars, stripping them of divine power until the Tablets of Fate were restored. This event reshaped divine politics. Gods died, others ascended, and mortal faith was tested as never before. Moving away from gods and deities, we have politics, factions and power struggles in the world of the Forgotten Realms. Faerûn is a place where steel and spellcraft shape the fate of kingdoms, but behind every sword drawn and spell cast lies a web of political intrigue and factional manoeuvring. Alliances shift like sand, and the influence of a single group can span the breadth of Faerûn, shaping events in ways most common folk will never see. Here, politics is as potent as any weapon or enchanted blade, and the hands that move the pieces are often remaining hidden in shadow. Starting with the major political powers of the realms, we have Waterdeep, known as the City of Splendours, the beating heart of trade, intrigue and diplomacy in the north. Waterdeep's influences reach as far beyond its city walls. Its rulers, the enigmatic, masked lords, govern from behind anonymity, allowing decisions to be made without fear or bribery or personal vendetta. The Open Lord, currently Lariel, one of the famed Seven Sisters, serves as the public face of the city's governance. Waterdeep's wealth comes from both sea trade and its position as a gateway to the north. The city is home to powerful guilds, each wielding significant sway over policy, and harbours agents from every major faction in the realms. Next, we have Amn, the merchant's paradise. Amn's strength lies in commerce. The Council of Five, its ruling oligarchy, controls vast trade networks spanning Faerûn. Amnian merchants deal in everything from spices and silks to mercenary contracts and magical curiosities, all with an emphasis on profit above morality. Amn's relationship with Baldur's Gate has been strained by centuries of rivalry, particularly over control of southern trade routes. Its capital, Athkatla, is notorious for corruption, but to the Amnians, greed is simply another word for ambition. Next we have Kalimshan, Empire of the Shining Sands. Ancient even by the standards of Faerûn, Kalimshan is a land of scorching deserts, wealthy merchant princes, and deep-rooted traditions dating back to the time of genies and elemental overlords. The city of Kalimport remains one of the largest and most opulent in the world. Its skyline dotted with palaces, minarets, and sprawling marketplaces. Politics here is a deadly dance of assassination, bribery, and subtle influence. Though weakened in recent centuries by internal strife and foreign invasions, Kalimshan remains a major cultural and economic power. Next we have Thay, the land of the Red Wizards. Thay is a realm feared across Faerun, ruled by the necromancer Zaz-Tam and his cadre of red wizards. Magic is both the currency and the weapon of Thay's power, and its society is a rigid hierarchy where arcane mastery determines status. Thay's ambitions extend far beyond its mountainous borders, with magical trade, political manipulation, and outright conquest serving its expansionist goals. Few dare to oppose Thay openly, for its agents are as skilled in subterfuge as they are in the dark arts. Next we have Cormyr, the Forest Kingdom. In contrast to the mercantile focus of Am or the arcane tyranny of Thay, Cormyr is a feudal monarchy dedicated to stability, honour and the rule of law. The Abarskir has ruled for centuries, supported by a noble class and defended by the disciplined purple dragons. Cormyr's alliances, particularly with the Harpers and the Lord's Alliance, makes it a bastion against the chaos of the wider world. But its nobles are not immune to intrigue, and succession disputes have sparked more than one civil war. Next we have Sembia, the Silver Empire. Once a loose confederation of merchant cities, Sembia has grown into a regional power through aggressive trade policies and shrewd diplomacy. Its merchants rival Am's for cunning, and its wealth funds private armies and magical research alike. Sembia's relationship with neighbouring Cormyr is intense, balancing competition with the necessity of cooperation against larger threats. Next we have the Dale Lands and the Dale's Council. Scattered, independent, and fiercely self-reliant, the Dale Lands are not a unified nation, but a collection of small territories, each governed by its own customs. The Dale's Council serves as a loose assembly for mutual defence and diplomacy. Though not a great power by themselves, the Dale Land's strategic location near Myth Draenor and the Elven Woods makes them a constant point of interest in larger conflicts. Next we have the Icewind Dale. Far to the north, beyond even Luskan, lies Icewind Dale, a rugged frontier of survival rather than politics. Yet despite its isolation, events here can ripple outward into the wider realms, as adventurers and exiles often carry the Dale's tales and troubles southward. Its settlements are bound together by necessity, not ambition. Next, let's talk about the major factions in the world and their influence. Starting with the Harpers, they are a semi-secret network dedicated to preserving balance and thwarting tyranny. The Harpers operate through loosely connected cells. They prize knowledge, self-reliance, and subtle intervention, often aiding heroes behind the scenes. Many of their members are bards, rangers or wizards, and their influence stretches from the Moonshade Isles to the Dalelands. Next we have the Zentarum, otherwise known as the Black Network, a mercenary company turned criminal empire. The Zentarum deal in weapons, information and illicit goods. Once based in the Zentil Keep, they have transformed into a pragmatic, profit-driven organisation that offers protection and opportunity to those willing to work in their shadow. Though not universally evil, their methods are ruthless, and they have been known to ally with darker forces when it suits them. Next we have the Red Wizards of Thay. They are more than just spellcasters. The Red Wizards are political agents of Thay's expansion. Specialising in specific schools of magic, they wield influence through trade in enchanted goods, infiltration of foreign courts, and the backing of Thay's military. Their presence is a constant reminder of Thay's reach. Next we have the Lord's Alliance, a coalition of city-states, kingdoms, and influential leaders. The Lord's Alliance works to maintain stability and security across the north. Members share resources to combat common threats such as orc invasions, dragon attacks, or organised crime. While unified in purpose, internal rivalries often test the strength of this alliance. Another is the Emerald Enclave, dedicated to preserving the natural balance. The Emerald Enclave acts as a check against both civilization's overreach and nature's destructive fury. Druids, rangers and barbarians make up much of their ranks, and their influence extends into the deepest forests and the most remote wildernesses. Lastly, we have the Order of the Gauntlet, a faction of paladins, clerics and knights devoted to rooting out evil wherever it hides. The Order's members are zealous in their cause, often working alongside the Harpers or Lords Alliance when goals align, but their rigid sense of justice can sometimes put them at odds with more pragmatic allies. Some key political shifts include the Time of Troubles, when the gods walked the realms, divine magic faltered, and mortal kingdoms scrambled to secure power amidst the chaos. During the Spell Plague, which was a cataclysmic event that reshaped magic and redrew borders, this toppled governments and sparked migrations. During the Sundering, the more recent upheaval that restored much of the old order but left new tensions in its wake. Next we have the Trade Wars. Merchant powers like Am and Sembia have clashed repeatedly over control of lucrative routes and markets. And lastly, the Cold Wars and Shadow Games. The Zentarim, Red Wizards and Harpers engage in ongoing campaigns of espionage, sabotage and manipulation that rarely make it into the official histories. This constant interplay of ambition, ideology and opportunism means the Forgotten Realms is never truly at peace. Even in moments of seeming stability, somewhere a deal is being struck, a dagger is being drawn, or a shadowy agent is moving a piece on the board, and the consequences will eventually reach from the highest throne to the humblest of villagers. Let us now discuss the geography and the landmarks of the Forgotten Realms. The world of Abir Toril. This is the planet the Forgotten Realms is set on. It's a place steeped in magic, history and wonder. Toril is the name most mortals know, but it shares its existence with its twin, Abir, a world once intertwined with Toril before being separated by divine decree in an age so ancient it predates most gods. The two worlds are like a sibling torn apart, each evolving in isolation. Toril is where the realms we know unfold, and it is a patchwork of continents, oceans and realms, both mortal and mystical. Our journey begins far above the planet, looking down on its sprawling continents and deep azure seas. Let's descend now, starting with the heart of most tales, the legendary continent of Faerun. Faerun, the heart of the realms. It's the central stage for most Dungeons & Dragons stories, including Baldur's Gate 3. It is a vast landmass spanning thousands of miles, with climates ranging from icy tundra to sun-scorched desert. Political intrigue, ancient ruins and bustling cities and untamed wilderness fill its lands. In Faerun, we have the Sword Coast, arguably the most famous stretch of Faerun. The Sword Coast is a rugged region bounded by the Sea of Swords to the west and vast inland territories to the east. From south to north, it boasts some of the most legendary cities in the realms. Baldur's Gate, a thriving port and political powerhouse teeming with intrigue, trade and danger. Waterdeep, the city of splendors, cosmopolitan and magical, ruled by a secretive council known as the Masked Lords. Neverwinter, once a jewel of the north, known for its warm climate and master artisans rebuilding after tragedy. Lastly, we have Luskan, city of sails and pirates, home to dangerous politics and powerful mage cabals. Between these hubs lie wild forests, ancient barrows and coastal fishing villages clinging to survival amid storms and sea monsters. Next we have the Dale Lands, a patchwork of small independent dales, each with its own traditions and defences. They are famed for their fierce independence and proximity to the ruins of Myth Draenor, an ancient elven city once called the City of Song, a place of unimaginable magic and tragic history. Next, we have the Anorok Desert, a harsh windswept expanse of sand and stone, once the fertile homeland of the Netherese Empire before their magical hubris brought ruin. Beneath its dunes lie buried cities and Mythala-powered ruins that still hum with dangerous energy. Next we have Chult, a tropical peninsula in the far southwest, shrouded in dense jungle and teeming with dinosaurs, undead in ancient ruins. The lost city of Omu and the great volcanic heart of Ubtower are about two of its secrets. Next we have the Underdark. Beneath Faerun sprawls an entirely separate realm. This labyrinth of caverns, tunnels and vast subterranean seas is home to the Drow, the Dwarga and Illithids. Countless horrors unseen on the surface. They are often ruled by the Drow priestesses of Lolth, who thrive in this lightless expanse. Moving on, we have Kara-Tur, far to the east of Faerun, a continent inspired by East Asian cultures. Its sweeping landscapes range from misty mountains to lush river valleys and vast steppes. We have Sholung, the largest empire, ancient and bureaucratically complex, filled with grand palaces and dragon-guarded treasures. Next we have Kozakura and Wa, island nations rich in samurai tradition, mysticism and sea trade. Next we have the Hordelands, a massive stretch of steppe inhabited by nomadic tribes and ruled at times by powerful khans. Next we have Zakara, the land of fate, which is south of Faerun across the wide seas. It's a realm of shimmering deserts, bustling bazaars and legendary djinn palaces. This land is infused with elemental magic and ruled largely by city-states united under the lawgiver's entitled law. Hazuz, the City of Delights, is the cultural and political heart of Zakara. Tales of flying carpets, brass citadels, and sea of glass are born here. Next we have Maztica, the true world. Across this trackless sea, to the west of Faerun, lies Maztica, a land of dense jungles, golden temples, and rich natural resources. Its cultures, shaped by ancient gods, blend spirituality, agriculture, and warrior tradition. Cities such as Payet stand amid vast maize fields and sacred pyramids. The land is rich in gold, but also fiercely defended by its people. Next we have Anchorome, the New World. North of Maztica, largely unexplored by Faerun's adventurers. Anchorome is a vast land of planet forests, plains, and mysterious civilizations. Elves from Evermeet have established outposts here, and ancient ruins hint at civilizations older than any in Faerun. Next we have Katashaka, the Southern Wilds, a massive continent south of Maztica. This is a realm of steaming jungles, massive reptiles and fierce predators. Little is known of its people, but it is whispered that dinosaurs and other prehistoric beasts rule here without rival. Next we have Ossi, the Dreaming Lands. Far across the oceans lies this realm, a continent shaped by spirit magic and home to cultures deeply connected to the Dreamtime. Its people are said to walk between the waking world and a realm of ancestral spirits. We also have mystical and hidden lands in the Forgotten Realms. We have Evermeet, the eternal island of elves protected by powerful magic. We have the Returned Abir, a fragment of the twin world that merged back into Toril during the Spell Plague. We have Lantan, an island nation of inventors and artificers. And we have Nimbril, known as a sea haven, home to skyships and secretive mages. We also have the world's waters, which are alive with lore as the lands themselves. We have the Sea of Swords, known for treacherous storms and legendary sea monsters. The Trackless Sea, vast and perilous, separating Faerun from Maztica and Anchorome. We have the Sea of the Fallen Stars, a massive inland sea surrounded by dozens of nations, acting as a cultural crossroads. Beneath these waters lie sunken cities, merfolk kingdoms, and ancient leviathans. Before we dive into Baldur's Gate 3, let us discuss the Eternal Dawn, before time was measured. Before the counting of years, before mortals knew the names of gods, the cosmos of Abir Toril was a canvas of raw chaos. The primordials, vast, unfathomable beings, shaped mountains, seas and skies from the void. They were the architects of matter and energy, their creations wild and untamed. In time, the gods arrived, beings of divine purpose and vision, and a great rift formed. The primordials sought a world ruled by elemental law, while the gods wished for order, balance, and life. The conflict erupted into the Dawn War, a clash that shook the newborn plains. Mountains crumbled, seas boiled, and the heavens split with fire. When the war's dust settled, Abir and Toril were divided into two separate worlds, Abir for the primordials and Toril for the gods and their mortal creations. But even in victory, the gods knew the scars of the Dawn War would never truly fade. Next we have the Age of Dragons. Dragons were among the first great rulers of Toril. They soared through untamed skies, shaping empires with claw and flame. Metallic dragons brought wisdom and order, while chromatic dragons spread terror and ruin. This was an age when the word of the worm was law, and mortal races, still young and few, were but fleeting curiosities. Yet dragons were not alone in their dominion. From the western seas came the giants, forging kingdoms of stone and storm. The two powers clashed in the 1,000-year war, a conflict of fire and thunder that reshaped continents. In the end, neither race claimed total victory, and their great empires slowly waned. After that, we had the first flowering. From the heart of the forests, the elves emerged. Crossing from the Feywild through great magical gates, they brought with them art, poetry, and sorcery, unlike anything the world had ever seen. They raised kingdoms that glimmered like jewels, each a wonder of magic and craft. This golden age became known as the First Flowering, a time when elven high magic shaped the very bones of Toril. Rivers were redirected, forests expanded, and the stars themselves were called to guide ships. But pride is the seed of tragedy. Rivalries grew between the Gold Elves and the Dark Elves, tensions that would fester for millennia. Next we have the Crown Wars. Jealousy, ambition, and ancient grudges ignited the Crown Wars, a series of devastating conflicts among the elven nations. High magic was turned to ruinous ends. Forests burned for decades, cities sank beneath the waves, and the sun itself was dimmed in sorrow. The darkest chapter came with the descent of the Drow. Banished for their alliance with the foul goddess Lolth, the Dark Elves were driven into the Underdark. Next we have the rise of the Netherrealm. From the ashes of elder civilizations rose humankind's first true empire, Netherrealm. What began as scattered fishing villages became a realm of unimaginable magical might. The Netherese arcanists discovered the Weave's deepest secrets, raising entire cities into the sky on pillars of arcane force. Their ambition knew no limits. Magic replaced toil. Wishes rewrote reality. The arch-wizard Karsus, in a moment of supreme hubris, attempted to steal the power of the goddess of magic herself. This act, known as Karsus's Folly, shattered the Weave, sent the floating cities crashing to the ground, and ended Netherrealm's reign in a single day. Next we have the Time of Troubles. For centuries the realms shifted between triumph and disaster, kingdoms rising and falling like the tides, but none foresaw the chaos of the Time of Troubles. When the overgod Ao cast the deities into mortal form as punishment, the world burned with divine conflict. Gods bled and died and were reborn. The very face of Faerûn changed, and when the gods returned to their thrones, the realms was left scarred, its people shaken, and faith forever altered. After this, we had the Spell Plague. Disaster struck again when the goddess of magic Mystra was slain. The Weave unravelled and the world was consumed by the Spell Plague, a storm of blue fire that twisted magic, reshaped landscapes, and tore apart the boundaries between worlds. Cities crumbled into the sea, and realms vanished. For over a century, nothing was certain. But the sundering of Abir and Toril began to reverse, as lands from both worlds emerged. The age of stable borders were gone. Change was now the law. Then there was the second sundering. In the years leading to the present, the gods themselves fought to shape the fate of Toril. This second sundering restored the world's balance, separating Abir and Toril once more and returning magic to its natural order. The political landscape shifted, kingdoms reforged, alliance broke, and ancient evils stirred. The world now stands on the edge of a new age, uncertain and perilous, yet brimming with opportunity for heroes bold enough to seize it. And next, we come to the present age. The Forgotten Realms of today is a tapestry woven of old scars and fresh beginnings. Across the Sword Coast, whispers of dragon cults, demonic incursions, and long-forgotten artifacts stir the hearts of adventurers. Waterdeep thrives as a hub of intrigue and trade. Baldur's Gate seethes with political unrest. Neverwinter rises from ruin. It is an age where gods walk more subtly, where magic hums through the bones of the earth, and where the next great chapter will not be written by kings or archmages alone, but by the adventurers who dare to step beyond the safety of the city walls. Let us move on to the era of Baldur's Gate 3. To understand Baldur's Gate 3, you first need to understand the city it's named after. A place that has always been as much a chessboard as it is a home for its people. Baldur's Gate sits along the Chiontha River, perfectly positioned between the Sword Coast's two major powers, Waterdeep to the north and Am to the south. This makes the city a vital artery for trade, travel and military movements, but it also makes it a target. A city whose wealth draws both legitimate merchants and the darker shadows that thrive in its alleys. The city is governed by the Council of Four, the Grand Duke, often considered the first among equals, and three other dukes, their councillors, guildmasters and military advisors. The Flaming Fist, the city's mercenary turned military arm, maintains law and order, at least on paper. In practice, politics in Baldur's Gate is a constant dance between patriotism, profiteering, and personal ambition. By the time Baldur's Gate 3 begins, the political situation is volatile. Tensions with El Turel to the east, due to its recent descent into Avernus, during Baldur's Gate descent into Avernus, have left scars. The refugee crisis, with desperate souls fleeing from disasters inland, has strained resources and stoked anti-outsider sentiment. The Flaming Fist's leadership is unstable following the disappearance of Duke Ulder Ravengard during the events that precede the game. And unknown forces are working behind the scenes, exploiting this unrest for their own ends. Baldur's Gate, at this point, is a city ready to tip into chaos. The perfect breeding ground for the kind of conspiracy that fuels Baldur's Gate 3 opening chapters. Let's look at the timeline. Baldur's Gate 3 sits in the 1490s DR, placing it firmly in the post-Second Sundering era, a time where the god's power has been reshaped and the realms are still adapting to new divine boundaries. Going into Baldur's Gate 3, there are some key events that you should be aware of. The first being the Second Sundering, which we have already discussed. The second is the descent of El Turel, the holy city that was dragged into Avernus after its High Overseer made a deal with Zariel, Archduchess of Hell. Duke Ravengard of Baldur's Gate was caught in the chaos. The El Turel refugee crisis, where survivors fled west to Baldur's Gate, speaking unrest and political exploitation by opportunists. The fourth being the Mind Flayer activity increasing. Rumours are spreading of strange abductions, ships appearing in impossible places, and people returning changed. Next, we have the Nautiloid incident. The game begins with the player being captured by Mind Flayers aboard their interdimensional ship, right before it's attacked by the Githyanki. This timeline isn't just flavour, it directly informs why Baldur's Gate streets are so tense and why the Mind Flayers' arrival goes almost unnoticed at first. Let's progress into some of the key characters that appear in Baldur's Gate 3. In the game, it allows you to create your own protagonist, but the plot orbits around several central figures, each with deep ties to the realm's history and divine intrigue. Firstly, we have the player character, a victim of Mind Flayer experimentation, implanted with an illithid tadpole. Next, we have Lae'zel, a Githyanki warrior loyal to Vlaakith, caught in the same abduction. Following Lae'zel, we have Shadowheart, a half-elf cleric of Shar, holding a mysterious artifact crucial to the unfolding story. Next we have Astarion, a vampire spawn of Khazad-dûr Zar, given a cruel reprieve from his master's control. Next we have Gale, a wizard from Waterdeep with a dangerous, god-touched secret involving Mystra, the goddess of magic. And finally we have Will, the Blade of Frontiers, a folk hero who hides a pact with the archdevil Mizora. On the political side of things, we have characters such as Duke Ulder Ravengard, who is the Grand Duke of Baldur's Gate, missing at the start of the game. Next, we have Gortash, a charismatic manipulator with designs on the city's future. Following that, we have Orin the Red, a shape-shifting assassin and Baal spawn. And finally, we have the Absolute, a mysterious entity whose cult promises unity and power, but hides a darker truth. There are also divine and cosmic players in the game. It's steeped in gods and elder powers, many of whom have been at odds for centuries. We have Baal, Lord of Murder, one of the Dead Three, whose spawn still walk Faerun. We have Bane, God of Tyranny, another one of the Dead Three, working through multiple agents, and Merkel, God of Death and Decay, completing the Dark Triad. And next we have Shar, Goddess of Darkness and Loss, guiding Shadowheart's path, and Mystra, Goddess of Magic, tied deeply to Gale's past and the Weave itself. And again with the Absolute, where it may not be as simple as being a god. The presence of all of these entities is not subtle. Baldur's Gate 3 constantly reveals how mortal politics and divine schemes are hopelessly tangled. But how does it all converge? The combination of a politically unstable Baldur's Gate, refugee tensions, the ambitions of the Dead Three's worshippers, Mind Flayer incursions and divine meddling creates the perfect storm for the events of Baldur's Gate 3. When the Nautiloid crashes and the party escapes, they're not stepping into a world at peace, they're stepping into a city and a coast on the brink of transformation, where every faction believes they're the one destined to control what comes next. And the player? They are the wild card, a potential saviour, destroyer, or something far stranger. By the time the events of Baldur's Gate 3 begin, the Sword Coast is a patchwork of fragile alliances and simmering rivalries. The city of Baldur's Gate itself, that bustling, dangerous port between Am and Waterdeep, is ruled not by a monarch, but by the Council of Four, a body representing both political and mercantile power. At the time of the game, this council was a mixture of long-established families and individuals with military or economic influence. Baldur's Gate has long had an uneasy relationship with its neighbours. To the north, Waterdeep stands as a shining example of a more cosmopolitan, magically sophisticated city, which also makes it a rival. To the south, Am's cutthroat merchants and its ruling council of the Six eye Baldur's Gate with suspicion, remembering past trade wars. To the east, the nation of Elturgard, or what remains of it after the descent into Avernus, casts a long shadow over regional politics, especially after its capital city, Elturol, was pulled into the Nine Hells. This geopolitical landscape creates fertile ground for infiltration and manipulation, conditions that the Absolute, a new and mysterious divine figure, takes full advantage of. Baldur's Gate 3 takes place roughly a century after the events of Baldur's Gate 2, and about 5 years after the descent into Avernus campaign. This means the city is still recovering from the chaos caused by the cult of the Dead Three, worshippers of Baal, Bane and Merkel, and the political instability that followed. In the larger Forgotten Realms timeline, this period is part of the Fifth Age of the Realms, post-Second Sundering, when the gods have returned to more direct involvement in mortal affairs. The weave has stabilised after Mystra's restoration, and planar boundaries, though still porous, are no longer in the total upheaval they were in the Spellplague era. The Mind Flayer incursion in Baldur's Gate 3 is not an isolated event. It's part of a broader pattern of planar actors testing Faerun's defences, exploiting mortal divisions and aligning themselves, knowingly or unknowingly, with the designs of gods and ancient powers. The player's journey intersects with a cast whose influence reaches far beyond personal storylines. Gortash, a master manipulator and political climber, serves as one of the chosen of the Dead Three. His alliance with the Steelwatch constructs is as much about controlling the city as it is about preparing for war. Ketheric Thorm, a chosen of Merkel, commands undead armies from Moonrise Towers, his faith and grief twisted into internal servitude to the Lord of Bones. Orin the Red, the shape-shifting assassin and the chosen of Baal, embodies the god's endless appetite for murder and chaos. And we have the Emperor, a mind flayer who defies the typical elder brain agenda, serves as a morally ambiguous ally, his own survival balanced against the fate of the multiverse. These figures are not just simply antagonists, they are nodes in a network of divine and mortal ambition, each playing their part in the cosmic struggle. The Forgotten Realms is never still, even as empires rise and fall, as gods contend for mortal faith, and as magic reshapes the very bones of the land. The realms continues to live, to breathe, and always continues to change. The vast histories we've traversed, from the time of the Troubles to the Spellplague, from the rise of Baldur's Gate to the shadows of the Underdark, are more than isolated tales. They are the threads of a single sprawling tapestry. And now that tapestry is shifting once again. Baldur's Gate, jewel of the Sword Coast, gateway between north and south, civilization and wild. It's always been a city of balance, too wealthy to be ignored, too dangerous to be ruled outright. Its walls have seen refugees, merchant princes, smugglers, pirates, heroes and tyrants. The Flaming Fist guards its streets, but their loyalty lies with coin, not crown. The Parliament of Peers governs, yet they are as divided as the streets they claim to control. And beyond the walls, darker forces have always lingered, waiting. It is here, in the waning days of uneasy peace, that Baldur's Gate 3 begins. The world we have come to know, the politics, the magic, the gods themselves, all converge upon this place. Mind flayers, long hidden in the shadowed corners of history, emerge with new audacity. Strange ships cut through the skies. Parasites, gifts, and curses of alien origin carry with them the promise of power and the certainty of transformation. For you, the player, this is not just another story. It's a continuation, the next heartbeat of the realms. Every choice echoes with the weight of centuries. Every ally or enemy you meet is shaped by the histories we have explored. The gods are watching. The city holds its breath. And beyond the horizon, forces older and stranger than Faerun itself reach out their hands. The Forgotten Realms has always been a world of crossroads. Baldur's Gate is simply where all the roads now meet.